My name is Fulan, and I will be presenting on the South Sudan refugee crisis. There had been a civil war between the North and the South of Sudan, which came to an end in 2011. This made South Sudan the youngest country in the world, but this victory was short-lived. To fight the North, the tribes in the South had put their differences aside. There are over 60 different ethnic tribes within the South. The two largest ones are the Dinkas and the Nuers. In 2013, the president of Sudan, who was a Dinka, accused his vice president, who was a Nuer, of planning a coup. This amplified the conflict among different ethnic groups, which resulted in the civil war that is going on today. The conflict has resulted in a refugee crisis. Currently, about 2 million people are displaced within South Sudan, and another 2.5 are living outside of Sudan in refugee camps in neighboring countries such as Ethiopia, Uganda, and Kenya. The United Nations has declared this the fastest growing humanitarian crisis. The refugee camps are set up by the United Nations and host nations and receive aid from nonprofit organizations. Many arrive to the refugee camp on foot after leaving with the bare minimum. The journey is dangerous and difficult. Families are separated, and many lose family members to violence, hunger, and disease. More than half of the refugees that arrive to the camp are children. Foster families are common, and there's an effort to reunite families upon arrival to the refugee camps. The largest refugee camp is Bidi Bidi, which is located in the northern region of Sudan. It houses over 280,000 South Sudanese refugees. Once the refugees arrive at the camp, life is far from easy. There is food insecurity, lack of access to clean water, inadequate health care, and lack of security, especially for girls and women. Upon their arrival, refugees are registered, given soap, shelter, and non-food items such as pots and pans. Water insecurity is one of the first challenges that they face. The main source of water are boreholes, but they are few in number and shared with the locals. And at times, water is delivered using trucks, and these trucks are subject to delay, especially during the rainy season when the roads are hard to travel. And they are also provided with land, but this comes with its own set of challenges. In South Sudan, 70% of schools have been closed due to the civil war. In the camps, including Bidi Bidi, schooling is available, although it does come with many shortcomings. There are only a handful of schools for refugees and Ugandan locals. Currently, there is a lack of school supplies, an absence of vocational training, and teaching programs. But this is an issue that the UN and the government of Uganda have recognized as a challenge and are working to improve. There are many public health concerns within and beyond the camp, including diseases such as cholera and malaria. In 2016, a cholera epidemic broke out in South Sudan and became the longest outbreak, lasting 2 years. And due to the lack of infrastructure, violence, and displacement, it became very difficult to address. And within Bidi Bidi, in 2018, there are 45,000 cases of malaria. Currently, there is an inadequate amount of health services and medical staff to address the needs of those in the camp and the needs of those within South Sudan. Safety is one of the main concerns in the camp, especially for young women and girls. According to some report, 90% of women who cross the border to Uganda have been raped. Within the camp, young girls who go to collect firewood are at high risk of being sexually assaulted. The topic of sex and sexual abuse is considered taboo, and many of these cases go undocumented. Some counseling is available for victims through nonprofit organizations, but it is not enough. In general, there is an inadequate mental health services within the camp, including for children who make up 60% of the refugees. There have been reports of theft, which increase in frequency during times of shortage, especially shortage for food, non-food items, and water. The challenges faced in Bidi Bidi are common among other refugee camps. Some refugees are fortunate enough to get the chance to come to the United States, but it is not all joyous. This is displayed in the 2004 documentary The Lost Boys of Sudan, which follows two Sudanese refugees as they make their way to the United States. Upon their arrival, they are automatically alleviated of the concern for physical safety, stable home, and food source, yet they experience a large range of emotions. Their experience is not uncommon and it's seen in other refugees who live abroad in Europe and North America. If you would like, the link to the documentary is below. For many living in the refugee camp, the goal is not to move to the United States. The goal is to be able to go back to South Sudan and build a better future for themselves and their children.